I'll get started. It is 10 minutes after 3 p.m. Hafa Days and Tiro. My name is Marquina. I'm from Tinian in the Mariana Islands, and it is my pleasure to open the Celebrating Micronesian Voices program for this year's Hawai'i Book and Music Festival. We first want to acknowledge with deep gratitude and respect Hawaii's Kanaka Maoli, the native people of this land and seas. And we also want to welcome our friends from the Pacific Islands Leadership Program in the spirit of Pacific unity. Welcome. Finally, I'd like to acknowledge the partners of the Celebrating Micronesian Voices program at this year's festival: Barbara P. Smith Endowment for East-West Center Micronesian Focus Programs, Pacific Islands Development Program, East-West Center, and Center for Pacific Island Studies at the University of Hawaiʻi at Mānoa. It is so special to introduce this event, and it will include Chamorro poets from the community and recently published student authors who write about the complexity of their respective Micronesian identities. This program offers an intimate, as you can see with the room, an intimate opportunity to connect with powerful Micronesian voices who you may know or who you may meet today. We invite you to navigate the journeys with them as they bring their stories to life. I am pleased to introduce Dave Rehuher. Davis Rehuher, MPH, is from the Republic of Palau in the Micronesian region of the Pacific Ocean. He is a PhD student in public health at the University of Hawaiʻi at Mānoa. His interests include health, mental health, behavioral wellness, educational outcomes, and film and media studies among Pacific Islanders, with emphasis on the Micronesian region and among Micronesian diaspora communities. Please welcome Dave to the stage.
Thank you, Marquina, for introduction and opening words. We have a great lineup for you guys today. I'm really excited to. My job is super easy. I'm just coming up here reading off what Marquina wrote, and then they do the hard work. So, thank you. I'm going to introduce our first speaker. It is my pleasure to introduce Randizia Crisostomo. Randizia Crisostomo, she, her, is a Famaloan Chamorro, and I apologize if I mispronounced Chamorro words. Even though I was born in Guam, from Palau. She's a Famaloan Chamorro daughter, artist, and educator born and raised in Guam with ancestral roots also from the island of Nauta. She is a fourth-year PhD candidate at UH Mānoa, studying indigenous politics in the Department of Political Science. She also holds an MA in culture studies with a specific focus on museum policy and advocacy for Micronesians of Coast Salish lands, also known as Washington State. Outside of the classroom, Randizia enjoys drawing and creating digital illustrations. Just recently, she was humbled by the opportunity to illustrate the front cover of Whanachiu's zine titled Voices of the Chamorro Diaspora. Whanachiu is a Guahan-based indigenous media project that challenges colonialism by bringing critical narratives to the masses through podcasts, videos, interviews, and creative Chamorro content from around the Marianas, Micronesia, and the Pacific. Randizia says her art is often influenced by stories and childhood movies that she grew up watching, such as Totoro and Spirited Away. Please give a big round of applause for Randizia.
Hafa Day Toru. Let me just put this down like that. Okay. Okay, my apologies. I completely forgot that my introduction was so long, but I wanted to give a shout out to Fanatsu for that opportunity to illustrate their front cover for the zine, and also many people who have really contributed to just giving us the courage to sharing our poetry up here. So I have two pieces to share today. I'll share the first one so that way it grounds me a little bit. So the first poem that I'll be reading for us is, it's actually a letter that I wrote for my Biha, my grandmother, or my paternal grandmother. And it was right before, it was actually during her time in the physical therapy office. I was just writing a lot of poetry, letters for her, especially it was during a time when she couldn't really communicate as well due to her illness. And so this is a piece that I had titled Return to Guinaita. Guinaita is another word for love. So kind of returning to learning how to, I guess, like love yourself during a time of grief, during a time of remembrance, and of course, this is for her. It's also in this cool book, New Chamorro Literature, if anyone is interested in it. Guys. Okay, so return to Gwenaita. Gwenaita, bundled firmly within the intimate grasp of Limangaina, swaddled, she lays, cooing. Gently caressed Inani, the baby. Munga mamalafa I Gwenaita and Mangaina zani pamagoon. Back and forth, the warmth of our Tautomona sway. Pulse, skin to skin, keeping us close so that we recognize them in our dreams. They pinch our stomachs, our arms, our calves, our memories, Nasunami, leaving, returning, tracing marks of consciousness, return to Gwenaita. Let their presence be known, Somogodai, Somohale, return to Gwenaita. Back and forth, the warmth of our Gwenaita sways, weaving centuries of survival through the earth's outer core into Itasi, our waters, Itanu, our lands, and Iardi, our airs, returning to Gwenaita. My Lamagi Agal, come here, my daughter. We return as ripples on the surfaces of turbulent seas, sea foam crashing against the shores of the Texan, bursting from the womb, that is who we are. We are born Itautau Tanu, Tautau Motna, returning of Gwenaita is who we are. The heat of an embrace, of which a fire emerges, grasping, blood, sweat, tears, calling, return our Gwenaita, Ifamagulan, Warpi, Hasu, transcend. We are the wildest dreams of our Tautomona, or that our Tautomona have ever imagined. We will always be Gwenaita. That was the first one. My Nana Biha was also a writer, and she also loved telling stories. So much of the letters that I was writing to her were kind of, I guess, like my response to her stories, because many of them would be 3 to 4 hours long. And by the time she was done telling them, I would always be either sleepy or we would watch the basketball game together. So that's how the stories went. So this is a second story, or a second piece, and it kind of ties into what I just had shared with you. This was more of like the rough draft version of the second one, or of the first one. So it's a little bit different. It goes something like this. There's not really a title to this piece though, so just put down like to be announced on there. Okay, so this one says, existing in between the spaces that separated both my parents, at barely 3 days old, I laid in Nana Biha's arms. Swaddled gently under the warmth of blankets, 80-degree weather, and skin to skin, while comforted by a gentle voice that grew ever so familiar. Hugok Benaijaku Nana Biha. Love you very much, grandmother. The words of a granddaughter created by a connection as sweet as honey. Many of us can relate to these connections to our loved ones, or should I say relations. Relations beating with familial waves, overflowing with ancestral love and compassion that we delight. Relations reflected through the rays of warm sunsets onto luminous radiant skies, mix-match zoris or slippers from Toto Market, or slippers that were probably never even yours to begin with. Crown Bakery delights and sweetness, and also the last piece of coconut candy melted in between a toddler's fingers. Let's not forget the Kool-Aid rich pickled mango that you would always steal from Auntie Reese's purse. All while holding the chickens that you never realized you were ever brave enough to catch. And let's not also forget the comfort and scent of Grandpa's kadu, or soup cooking over an open flame in the outside kitchen. These are relations that say that it's okay to cry, it's okay to grieve, and it's okay to love and to miss our home. To sing is to nurture, and to nurture is to chant, and to chant is to simply move in between the waters that we acknowledge as relations. Among these relations, they are as deep as the Marianas Trench, weaving centuries of survival through the Earth's outer core, and again back into Itasi, the ocean, the waters that make us simply a part of you, Nana. A part of you that is remembered, a part of you that echoes, Malamalagal, come here, my daughter, a part of you that echoes, this is who we are until we meet again. the mic over to our next poet.
Thank you, DJ. Let's have another round of applause. Okay, I'm going to introduce our next storyteller, Zaya. Zaya Francesca Pangalina Nauta is Hawaiian Hula and Galaide, was born and raised in the villages of Santa Rita, Jonah, and Sumai, the island of Guam in the Marquina Islands. As an indigenous Chamorro, she came to Hawaii in 2016 to learn from Kanaka Maoli and be an ally in the movements of food sovereignty, cultural revitalization, decolonization, and reclamation. Zaya has been working in education, conservation, and agriculture, nourished and molded by the Aina, especially by the Aina of He'ea and Manalaha of Oahu. She loves connecting with the ancestors by learning, working the land, writing poetry and music, and creating art. Let's have a big round of applause for Zaya.
Good day, friends. So I'm super thankful to PIDP and all of our friends in PIDP for always giving us space to share our voices. And I'm also super grateful to Hawai'i Book and Music Festival for integrating Micronesian voices into this. It's the beginning, I guess, of beautiful unity across Pacifica, especially Micronesia, Polynesia, and First Melanesia. So I'm going to share 3 poems today that will grow in perspective and scope. We're going to start very personal history, my family's history. Am I talking loud enough? It's okay? No? Okay. Try harder. How about now? Better? Okay. We're going to spit on this mic. And so I'm going to talk about my ancestral village of Sumai. And then from there, it's going to grow to talk about and celebrate Micronesia. And then from there, I will hope to, represent and speak the voices of perspective for all Pacific Islands, especially those that are colonized, and how we feel about our colonization, militarism, and tourism. So it's going to be kind of triggering. It can be very direct, but what I love about poetry and art is that it makes these hard things more digestible. It makes it a little bit easier to also not just hear, but to process our pain in channeled and productive ways. So the first one is called Sumai, and sorry, I like to frame it so we kind of know where we're at. And here in Hawaii, and I think across the world, when people think of, especially here in Hawaii, when people hear World War II, they often think of Pearl Harbor, right? They think of the bombing at Pu'uloa. But what a lot of people don't know is that in Micronesia, World War II was actually fought on our shores. And we were occupied for 4 years by Japanese forces. And there's a lot of things, a lot of pain that has not been processed yet, 80 years later. But I hope to share a perspective of the village that I am from, or that I'm supposed to be from. My grandparents were displaced from their village in 1944, which we were from for thousands of years, for military use. So this is a letter to my village called Sumai. Sumai, my ancestral village, meaning swampy or wet. I've never known you in that way. My eyes wet when I think of you, of what could have been. And my heart is a stinking, steaming swamp of stagnated tears that my grandparents never got to cry for you. I only know you as bright-eyed stories told in Grandma's quivering voice about times before the war, about times of abundance, where there was more than enough coconut crab, taro, sweet potato, breadfruit, more than enough aunties and uncles for everyone to be nourished. Sumai, what did you look like? Grandma said you were rich in soil and soul, in earth and birth. The entire island could have come from your womb. Your breast could feed every singing and praying mouth. The near shores vibrated with fish, echoing, slapping, and sloshing. We lived by the sea, we were the sea. The word for canoe became our last name, Sumai. Is that why they took you? Because of your beautiful bounty of everything one needs to live, to thrive. After leveling you with bombs, they ripped open your festering wounds, battered your bosom until your heart stopped beating, clogged your rivers to claim more and more land. They remade you known. They defaced you. From a nurturing mother to a murderous beast, from fishing canoes to nuclear submarines. They orphaned your children, starved your children of heritage. But we never went hungry. We continued to feed ourselves and our children with the shadow of your prosperity and the hope of return. Sumai, are you still there? They claimed you for national security, for naval operations, for subway and a commissary, for 20 minutes of scenic drives, and they don't even know your real name. And when the anniversary of our displacement and reoccupation comes around, they let us go back to Sumai, grant us visitation rights to our own mother, our own grandmother, our own heritage. As we dance and sing to your former glory, look at sepias of your past life, reconnect with would have been neighbors, cousins, lovers. We ache inside. We long for you. We try not to be angry. And we wonder if you recognize us as your grandchildren. Sumai, will the world forget you? We won't let them. Sorry I have to start off so heavy, but I think that's just a story that, and I know that a lot of people in this room may resonate with. I forgot to mention, but a lot of people, especially our indigenous peoples, have been dislocated, displaced for military operations, and especially on this island, shout outs to the people of Pu'uloa, Pohakuloa, and Makua. But now that we got the heaviness out of the way, just have to say that, I am gonna grow again in perspective, and I'm gonna talk about Micronesia. I wrote this poem for Celebrate Micronesia, which is an annual festival hosted by PIDP, and this year was beautiful because it coincided with the Festival Pacific Arts and Culture. And I wanted to celebrate because, this is a joyful poem, especially because when in Hawai'i we hear a lot of people who, when they hear the word Micronesia or Micronesian, there's always a negative connotation to it. And I'm gonna be direct, there's a lot of discrimination here around our Micronesian selves and brothers and sisters. So, and that's interesting to me because people judge us without even knowing our stories and knowing what our islands look like or where we come from. So I wanted to share this perspective of how amazing Micronesia is. Yeah. I tried to memorize it, but this is just in case. We are children of the land and descendants of the sea, from volcanic grandmothers to great-grandfatherly reefs. Basalt in our bones, salt water in our veins, the skies in our eyes, our muscles, soil, and rain. We are children of the land and descendants of the sea. We're birthed by lava on the seafloor, eruptions of womb, crust, and core. Cooled and hardened by the Father Ocean, conceived through loving elemental emotion. We are islands to atolls eroded by energies of the earth, tectonic colliding and dividing, the aftershock of afterbirth. Our spines are archipelagos strong enough to carry thousands of years of evolution. We are children of the land and descendants of the sea. 70% water, our bodies and our planet, our veins, currents ever flowing with DNA in transit. Salt settled in our blood, heartbeats pumping waves, tidal changes, ebbs and flows, our genealogies, freeways for migration. Our love is deeper than the Marianas Trench. We are children of the land and descendants of the sea. Our muscles made of coconut, taro, sweet potato, and breadfruit, we are grounded in Mother Earth, her hereditary roots. Our skin dark as deep jungles, our bodies fertile soil and seed, altruistic ancestral abundance with more than enough to feed generations. We are children of the land and descendants of the sea. Our communities are coral reefs, thousands of years in the making, colorful and complex, thriving and co-creating. Our villages, jungle ecosystems with rich understories, socially symbiotic, steadfast, yet migratory. We are children of the land and descendants of the sea. The winds in our voices softly singing to sails to trade winds and dreams, breezes, breaths exhaled. We are hurricanes and typhoons, sometimes cyclones and monsoons. We are the strongest storms of the face of the earth. We are children of the land and descendants of the sea. Our minds marked in the sky, maps, memories, constellations, navigational neural pathways of seafaring generations. As children of the land and descendants of the sea, to navigate our ocean is to navigate our bodies. We are one with every current, island, wind, and wave. Navigating ever-changing conditions is the only way we exist. We are children of the land and descendants of the sea. Foreigners thought they knew our land, but couldn't understand our sea. They could not comprehend our immensity, so they minimized us to Micronesia, because none of their words could fathom the depths of the ocean of ourselves. But the only thing microscopic was their eyesight and logic. They saw islands in a far sea where we're an ocean of connectivity. So whenever someone tries to minimize our immensity, we must look to the ocean of ourselves to reclaim our identity. We are not just children of the land and descendants of the sea. We are the land. We are the sea. We are Micronesia. Thank you very much. So this last one, again, is growing in perspective. You can just guess the tone by the name of this poem, but it's called Our Islands Are Not Your Hotels. Like I said, it's very direct, and this was not written to any one person, group of people in general. This was written to colonialism. And colonialism often takes the form of a mindset. Like we are in the process of decolonizing ourselves and making sure that we're going back to our own perspectives. So, this is very direct, but with the most love, with the utmost love. Need water. Our islands are not your hotels, where you can stay and play for a few days. For you, we make everything nice, yet we pay the price so you can vacation your way. Your visits feed our economies, but we're starving ourselves. We're paving over our farms and buying food off of shelves. You swim in our beaches and you litter them with your trash, like your ignorant, arrogant attitudes, thinking our culture is worth cash because nothing to you is sacred. You adventure through our jungles like it's some kind of game, not respecting those who walked there first or the original name. Blasting music and paces, eroding mountain faces, leaving traces for generations. When a few days is enough, you pack up all your stuff and you colonize our land with your greedy hands, pushing us down and out till we cannot stand, raising rent for a studio to over $1,000, cause now supply is too low for demand. Now we're forced to work 3 jobs at a time. The unlucky and the angry resort to crime. We're selling our souls to make a dime because we can't afford life in our own islands. Too many native families, your vacations forced out of the once simple island life you know nothing about. Now they're forced to navigate the globe to find a new home, a place a colonizer like you won't try to own. Though it seems like you're pushing us out of this dome, ahi. Ole. You will not push out my people of the Pacific Sea. You will not take our islands as another commodity. We may be geographically far, but we look up to the stars and we know who we are. We are navigators and cultivators of the powerful Pacific Sea who voyage to the islands that are a part of me. Our islands are not your hotels. Our ancient songs are not your service bells. So no matter how long you are here, we are now making it clear that our lands, cultures, and peoples are to be respected. Let me tell you how. Before your foot touches the ground from that plane, know the indigenous people and the indigenous name. Before you land, know your place where you stand on the indigenous people's land which was stolen. No matter what flags are flying over our nations, know that we have been here for hundreds of generations. Know that our people are scarred from fighting wars that aren't ours. Our lives are being bombarded, but we're still working harder so we can stay connected to our great-grandmothers and fathers. Watch what you step, watch where you step, and watch what you say. Know that you're walking along our ancestors' ways. There are spiritual guides watching night and day, protecting our past, present, and future. Know that the plants, birds, fish, corals, shells, and stones are the living cells that make up our island's bones. They're not meant to be played with, taken, or thrown. They're meant to be revered and left alone. The way they've been shaped, weathered, and grown, they're our ancestors. Be conscious and aware of the issues our peoples face, like being displaced for your military base. Know that this economy is not set up for us. That living means chasing paper that says, "In God we trust." Our subsistence is smothered by the concrete dust, so we're fighting every day because we must. Know that our cultures are rising like the tides. We're feeding our children the truth and no more out of your lies. Know that our languages are flowing like the breath of life, and you can't cut our tongues with your colonial knife, because after centuries of being your victims, we have grown thicker, stronger, and impenetrable skin. Know that we are warriors. We are warring with education, culture, language, and peace to kick you out or write your lease, because our islands are not your hotels. See to response.
For your powerful words. Let's give another round of applause. All right, our next speaker is Marquina. Got my glasses, I can see what I'm reading. Marquina Hofschneider. Marquina is from the island of Tinian in the Mariana Islands, but currently resides in Waimaui, Oahu. She is a proud Chamorro, sister, daughter, friend, partner, storyteller, creator, and mentor. Marquina is passionate about Pacific Islander empowerment through education and currently works as a program coordinator for the TIES PC program, which supports Filipino and Pacific Islanders to get to and through UH Mānoa. Round of applause for Marquina, please.
Thank you, Dave, for the introduction, and Zaya and Asia for the powerful words. I'll try to also capture you in the same way. So I write a lot about my culture identity and its relations to nature and cosmic elements. This first poem I actually wrote in April last year when I first met Zaya. She, with the Pacific Allies Association, hosted a poetry night called Sounds of Sovereignty. And this is what I wrote. It's called Home in Me. Someone told me that there is a cloud trying to find its home in me. How tired this cloud must be to carry the dreams of the taken ones. Someone told me that dreams are gray and rusting since 1945. They roar as loud as the tides that roll in at Taga Beach during typhoon season. These dreams fly higher than the countless views I've taken of my homecoming. When I was 6, I remember saying I wanted to be president. I wanted to change the world before it could change me. Marquina with the coconut-shaped dark brown hair and dimples in her cheeks and squinty eyes. How is it that same young eyes sought stars and wished for the impossible? Someone told me that dreams are for those who work hard enough, but those who work hard enough don't hold the price tag for hard enough. Instead, it is clutched by a pink face and sunglasses, smiling and chewing gum so loud you can hardly hear the whispers in the trees. It takes photos by our sacred lati with the hang loose sign to seem close enough to the locals. My family told me that to be Chamorro is to share who you are with the world. That you need to smile brighter than our summer sun so the world can be impressed to see that beating, working, crying, loving, creating, farming, cooking, teaching, surviving hearts were born and raised on a pencil mark of the globe, a pencil mark of red. The truck my nana used to Edoni by the beach, the same red as her handheld cooler she carried her tititas in, store to store, marked with her name, Mariquitas. Red like the lipstick my mom wore when she had to fight battles in rooms filled with old brown men who might as well be pink with sunglasses. Red like the blood dripping from the tired and dirt-stained leg of my father, who always seemed to get cut around the farm. Red like the seams of my brother's pants. Signed his future to Semper Fi at age 19. Red like the best Christmas I ever had, laughing with my cousins. Like we used to, but this time with more wisdom of struggle along the wrinkles of our eyes, as we tried to find our place in the cold Oregon winter of 2020. The same eyes that watched the next generation of our family take wobbly steps around the living room. The best Christmas I ever had, and inside I'm screaming for everything to end. I once was a cloud that wanted to fly away and never be found, for I was too tired to carry the dreams of my taken ones who found their home in me. Thank you. Sorry I cried. My brother's in the room. It's the first time he's hearing my poem, so got a little emotional. Okay. This next set of poems I wrote after Super Typhoon Yutu, which is the strongest typhoon ever recorded to impact the Mariana Islands. It left Tinian and many parts of Saipan with no water or electricity for months. The island of Saipan was also still in recovery after Super Typhoon Sodalor in 2015. I used to have fond memories of typhoon because it was like forced family time. But because of these super typhoons that became more frequent in the Marianas, these typhoons brought fear and anger because this was climate change. And I never felt it so much until I was sitting in my office in Oregon while my parents were huddled in the bathroom asking us to pray for them. Fear brings no sleep. Eyes wide in the darkness, wandering where the wind whistles, wondering if the boom, boom, bang will break in soon. Somehow there is comfort in the whispered movement of water between toes, but louder still, boom, tick, boom, tick, boom, tick. Seconds tick turn to hours tick. Cold, wet, and windy fear tick, tick, tick. It brings no sleep. Anger brings images of ancient trees fallen at the hands of nature, so they say, wondering where those hands have been if they are stained with coal and greedy capitalism. Prayers left in unopened envelopes, piled on the front porch of a home in ruins. They bring warmth to its residents, but just for a minute. Images of suits and smiles and salutations, savoring the disaster, savoring the neediness, savoring themselves the savior. Images of ancestral trees fallen at the hands of nature, so they say. Anger brings resistance to believe that nature had anything to do with it. This next poem I wrote after many years of living in Oregon. I looked in the mirror one day, getting ready for Zoom school, and thought about what it meant for me to be there, to be a representation of me and my culture and my family, but also to be authentic to me and my dreams. It's called Classic. I get ready for my box. I line my small pointy eyes and brush my eyelashes with the sharpness of black and wonder if they pierce through the screen too much, too little. What do I wipe away to make everyone just enough comfortable? I look through my bag and wonder if I'll find the perfect shade that will make my lips just enough visible. Why is it so hard to find the right amount of brown to match the face of my voice? I look in the mirror as I smear the mud-like cream and smile, a rehearsal for my lifetime performance. You are prettier when you smile, prettier when you smile. I wipe my smile away as quick as a trick, like magic, but I am not a magician, rather a Siruwanu, cultural healer who knows just the right dose to make you feel better. I hurry to my vanity and reach for my diamonds. Classic, I think to myself. An image of me comes to mind, the dazzle of my diamonds shining through the screen, posh and perfect and privileged, the picture of non-poverty. Quote, judged over a period of time to be of the highest quality and outstanding of its kind, end quote. Who determines what is high, quality, and outstanding? I grab my spondylus earrings instead and gently put them on. The woman who gifted me these ran an Etsy shop, just as I did at the start of the pandemic. She yearned for reconnection to her dad and the Chamorro culture. I feel for her, Tetluhu, my sister who I have never met, whose heart somehow flows steadily into mine. I feel for her loss as deep as the Marianas, a loss that tries to scare you away from existence. Through classic diamond, small talk, magical smiles, lifetime performances of switching and just enoughing and crying. But when I was a little girl, I remembered hearing from my auntie that the Tato Mona are Taima'a'mio, my ancestors without fear, so I can only afford tears of Pacific salt water. May they be lighter than my father's and heavier than my goddaughter's, and as clear as the light blues of Taga Beach, to see just how much spondylus are priceless and just enough. A true classic. Thank you. Okay, this final poem I wrote in March of this year, about a year since my return to the Pacific. So I lived in Oregon for about 10 years, and then I moved to Hawaii March 2023. So I wrote this as I walked around Mānoa. It's titled Pacific. Adjective, peaceful in character or intent, relating to the Pacific Ocean. The success of one is always of many, a village with shared prosperity and abundance, whose arms heal and welcome with a hug so warming it melts into your core, and gives breath to the coldest parts of you. Its destiny was always, eventually, with you. It comes wrapped in the woven basket of a smile, validation and belonging, auntie and uncle, the reciprocal nature of our relativity and the inevitable revelation of our unity, in protecting the profound and ever mysterious, ever evolving, ever providing, ever loving ancestor who raised us. Noun, short for Pacific Ocean. The grandness of her depths marvel the world, but it is her surface that nurtured us. Her foamy white glimmer, always determined to greet us on the shore and tell us of her days. Sometimes she is loud and angry, her might demanding us to listen, something some of us proudly inherit. Our ancestor, she holds the wisdom of creation and destruction, secrets that we, but not many, understand has a time and place for sharing. Sometimes she is just a soothing whisper, lullaby-like in song and shape. Her gentleness reminds us that non-discovery can be far more meaningful than knowing and taking too much. Today she came to me from far from her usual reaches, after like a coconut cup of a root drink, she enclosed me in a spiritual abyss. As I looked for her in the barren trees, she appeared to me as a cosmic creation of color, symmetry, and scent. She swayed, surely and slowly, and said, in all the tongues that she knows, welcome home. Thank you. Okay. I'm gonna switch over to being an MC. I now have the pleasure to close off our program by introducing Dr. Mary Therese Hattori. Dr. Mary Therese Perez Hattori is the director of the Pacific Islands Development Program. Prior to this, she was a scholarship program specialist in the East-West Center's education program, director of the Center for Teaching and Learning, and associate professor of education at Chaminade University, outreach director of the Center for Pacific Island Studies at UH Mānoa, and associate professor of information technology and director of the Center for Excellence in Learning, Teaching, and Technology at Kapiolani Community College. A native Chamorro of Guahan, she is a community organizer and advocates for Pacific Islanders in Hawaiʻi, co-organizer of cultural events such as the annual Cultural Animation Film Festival, the annual Celebrate Micronesia Festival, Micronesian Women's Summit, and Oceania on the Reel, and teacher and mentor of students in Pacific Studies, Learning Design and Technology, and the UH Mānoa and San Francisco State University educational doctorate programs, which are part of Carnegie Project on the Educational Doctorate. She is affiliate graduate faculty of the University of Hawaii at Mānoa and the USC Rosier School of Education. Dr. Hattori is also an author, poet, public speaker, and philanthropist. Recently, Dr. Hattori has been appointed to the Hawaii State Board of Education. So everyone, please welcome to the stage Dr. Mary Therese Perez Hattori.
Hapade and Aloha. Two of our poets and several story makers were scheduled to be here, couldn't attend for various reasons. So about an hour ago, I was asked to step up. So happy to be here and so proud. I remember I was at a community event with Zaya. We were, I think, weaving outside and having a conversation, and there was an open mic. We found out there was an open mic opportunity for poets, and she claimed she wasn't a poet. And so we thought, hey, let's this is a good time. It was a very small, intimate community event, and she's really grown so much since then, and all of her power, her kana has blossomed, and she's been mentoring others, as you've heard earlier. So I'm really happy about that, and proud to share space with you, Zaya. I'm going to share. Actually, I was a closet poet. How many of you are closet poets? I never admitted to being a poet, and I still have a stash of poetry that I've never shared with anyone. Never thought I was good enough to be published. The great poet from Aotearoa, New Zealand, Carlo Mila, was a Fulbright scholar, a Fulbright artist in Hawaii, and I was an outreach director providing support. And she would have these social gatherings at her house, and I was also a big, a fan, and quite awestruck by her. And when she threw a party, her first rule was, if you come to my party, you have to share a poem. And I'm a rule follower. So that was the first time I ever shared poetry. Shortly after that, in 2016, the Festival of Pacific Arts and Culture was held on my island, Guahan. And actually, got to give a shout out to Liana here, part of a committee who put together a publication called Local Voices, a publication of Pacific poetry and stories that I believe you can still get through University of Guam, UOG Press, University of Guam Press. It's called Local Voices, and the first time I ever submitted poetry, and so I'm going to share this one with you. Special because it was first published my home island. It's called Ipiluña, which is a Spanish word and a loan word for Chamorros. We were a colony of Spain for several centuries. Ipiluña means the feather. I'm also wearing a feather lei that was gifted to me during this Festival of Pacific Arts and Culture by a friend from Rapa Nui, performer. I wrote this poem, Ipiluña, after certain events happened. I was noticing regular occurrences of feathers falling in front of me when there were no birds around. Many of us who have lost family members often see signs from the environment as signs of their presence, their spirits with us. So this was written in tribute to my late grandfather, Ken Cruz Perez, Guam's first Chamorro, lawyer and judge, chief justice of our Superior Court of Guam. And as I share this, feel free to close your eyes. Think about all of those moments of contact with your loved ones who have departed. From a still and empty sky, a lone feather emerges. The down of a bird descends. Gradually, gently, slowly, it floats. Down, down, down. Alighting onto my outstretched palm. A soft, sweet kiss from the Amiti. A powerful portent, a message. Maulik, good. Total Maulik, all is well. Perhaps my tata, now Tata Mona, always a pikaroo, a brat, plucked it from a passing bird and sent it as a gift, a feather drifting on the susurration of Sinai, the whispers of wise elders. Thank you. I'm going to pass these around because I think there are a lot of nerds in the room who might appreciate seeing some of the publications. This next poem, it's called Finu Wolafwan. It means moonlight talk. Finu is talk or words or language. Wolafwan is moon, the moon, different phases of the moon. But I'm going to pass these around. Indigenous literatures from Micronesia. Yellow Medicine Review, one of the poems I'm going to share is from that. And then Randizia's poem, and I've got some poems here. New Chamorro literature published this year, 2023 last year. And then another publication from UOG Press. So I'll pass those around. And I believe many of those you can get at Best Press. Is that right? This is Dipna Figurashan, Wonder Woman of Best Press here. You can ask her. They've got a lot of great anthologies. So this one is Finu Wolafwan. On Guam, this was an allegorical language. It's actually a lost language, a language of secret love songs lost over time. Lovers in the moonlight would speak in this language. So this poem is a tribute to that lost language shared in the spirit of love. Finu Wolafwan, Moonlight Talk. On the seashore, in moonlight encounters, we share sunlight in our kisses, starlight in our breath. Bodies are palimpsests onto which beauty is registered again and again and again. We are Tasi, the ocean, the infinite source of ink with which we pen poems of love. We are Langet, the heavens. Via Lactea, the Milky Way galaxy flows between us. Our passion creates constellations of pleasure in secret skies. And I'm going to close with a poem that's in Yellow Medicine Review, one of the first and premier publications for Native American poetry. I love the fact that the editors have expanded the authors so that Chamorro poets can submit. We're not Native American, we're a territory of the United States, so we really appreciate that. I'm sharing this poem, it's called Fuetsin Famalawan. Fuetsin means strength and Famalawan means women. For many parts of the Pacific, particularly in the North Pacific, we come from matrilineal cultures. I grew up with a strong sense of identity as a strong, proud Chamorro woman and never experienced sexism until I came to Hawaii. I think Fuetsin Famalawan and valuing the strength of women is something that we can share as a positive model for America. In recent years, women's rights in America have been eroding almost daily. our place in society, and policies that are laws that are being enacted are diminishing our rights. So I want to share this just as a reminder that we have some valuable lessons that America can learn from Micronesia, and also as a sort of an anthem to women. So I call this Wet'suwet'en Familauan, an anthem to women. With my breath, I speak, I sing, I chant, with breath that vibrates from powerful and ancient sounds. Fino Inalatlata, the words of our life, the language of my people. In my breath is the collective power of Chamorro women, Wet'suwet'en Familauan, from our first creator woman, Fu'una, of Antes na Tiempo, the time before time, from our Magahaga women of power to generations of Mañana, wise elders. My breath is my ink with which I craft words, words of recognition, words that heal, words that light the path for others, that clear the path for others, words that create futures. I am life, Linetla, I am strength, Minetkut, I am love, Winaitza. I am life, Linetla, I am strength, Minetkut, I am love, Winaitza. Mahalo.
And thank you, Dr. Hattori, for closing our Celebrating Micronesians program, Micronesian Voices program. Thank you all for coming to support, and have a good afternoon.